Let me tell you a harsh truth about making $10,000 a month. It doesn't come from a lottery, an inheritance, or a stroke of luck. Hitting that number consistently, every single month, is the direct result of specific skills you build and systems you construct. Before we go any further, you need to understand the absolute baseline requirement to make this work. You are committing to 12 to 18 months of uninterrupted, focused effort. If you are looking for a shortcut or a get-rich-quick scheme, this isn't for you. This blueprint is engineered specifically for people willing to endure that strict timeline to see real results. Crossing that $10,000 threshold does something specific. It moves you out of survival mode, where you are dependent on a single employer, and puts you in the top 15% of earners, giving you multiple income sources, funded emergency accounts, and total financial autonomy. The first practical barrier almost everyone faces is logistics. If you are working a standard 9-to-5 job, your schedule is already stretched thin, and finding the energy to build a business feels impossible. To bypass this, you have to establish a non-negotiable 2 to 3 hour block of time every single day. You will carve this out either early in the morning before your shift or late in the evening when the house is quiet. Look at how most people spend those evening hours. They sit down and consume content, paying with their attention. But in that exact same window, a creator is building an asset. They are producing value, and because they are making the content rather than watching it, they are the ones getting paid. When you reallocate your downtime, you stop trading your attention for brief entertainment. Those 2 hours become an active investment that compounds day after day. Securing your time is the physical challenge. The psychological challenge happens immediately after. The first 90 days are the most dangerous period for any beginner. For the first 90 days, daily effort remains high, but revenue stays near zero. The income is nowhere near enough to live on. To survive, you drop the revenue metric entirely and measure daily inputs instead: hours spent learning, samples built, and cold pitches sent. Pushing through this harsh 90-day drought without seeing an immediate reward is the primary filtering mechanism of the market. It permanently eliminates the competition who expected a quick payday. People usually fail next because they try to launch every business model simultaneously. Instead, we are going to systematically stack independent income streams over an 18-month timeline. Months 1 through 6, master a freelance skill like AI automation and acquire clients. Month 7, convert expertise into digital products like templates. Months 10 through 18, build an audience for content and affiliates, moving profits into investments. Lasting wealth isn't about finding one massive payday. It's about structurally engineering these 5 independent pillars of revenue so that your income no longer depends on your presence. At this point, many beginners convince themselves they need to spend thousands of dollars on premium software to look legitimate. This idea is completely and utterly false. We follow one strict operational rule. You never spend money on tools before your business is actively generating revenue. You upgrade only when your income justifies the cost. This grid maps your free toolkit: Canva for design, Google Docs for writing, Notion for organization, Gumroad for sales, and Hunter.io for outreach. You draft pitches and docs, find contacts with Hunter, send a Calendly link, and track the relationship in Notion. Delivering a high-end experience to your clients is a matter of organized workflow integration. It has nothing to do with expensive monthly subscriptions. You now hold the structural blueprint. You know how to carve out the daily time, track your input metrics to survive the first 90 days, sequence your income streams, and build your entire infrastructure for $0. But this entire framework remains mathematically useless until you make a concrete decision. You have to commit to sacrificing your leisure time for the next 18 months to do the work. The high-level map is established. What you need next are the specific mechanics on the ground: the exact email structures that win clients, the questions to ask on a sales call, and the methods to fully automate your digital product delivery. Click the video on your screen right now to enter Part 2, where we break down the exact outreach templates and daily operating procedures you need to execute this plan. Possessing the strategy gets you to the starting line. Mastering the daily execution is what actually pushes you out of the rat race and into the top 15%. You know the theories, you know the income streams, the tools, and the 18-month roadmap. But having a map does not move your feet. The real test happens in the daily grind, working through doubt, rejection, and months of painfully slow progress. Understanding the mechanics of wealth is a baseline. Pushing through the psychological friction of executing those mechanics every single day is how $0 becomes $10,000 a month. To see what this execution looks like, we have to look at the people who actually did it. We are not talking about venture capitalists. We are looking at a 24-year-old retail worker making $14 an hour, a waitress surviving on tips, and a marketing grad drowning in $45,000 of student debt. Take Alex. He had $800 in savings and 0 writing experience. He spent 2 months rewriting famous ads by hand, pitched 47 clients on Upwork with 0 replies, and got his first gig on Proposal 48 for $150. 12 months later, by hyper-specializing in email copy for software companies, he hit $12,000 a month. Maya built digital productivity templates on her weekends away from waitressing. Her first launch made exactly $57. She kept building anyway, captured a semi-viral moment on TikTok 3 months later, and pushed that momentum into a $15,000 month. James used the desperation of a 6-month unemployment stretch as leverage. He built 20 AI automations for himself, cold emailed 500 local businesses offering free work, and converted 11 of those free trials into paid retainers. He bypassed the job market entirely to build a $22,000 a month agency. Sarah declined a low-paying corporate job to document her struggle paying off student loans. She posted 3 videos a week for 3 months to earn absolutely nothing. By month 12, that raw, authentic documentation built enough audience trust to generate $10,500 a month in brand deals and product sales. And David, a 35-year-old factory worker with a high school diploma, spent 1 hour every night learning video editing after his kids went to sleep. Within 12 months, he scaled from a $200 local restaurant gig to a remote agency pulling in $13,000 a month. 5 industries, 5 backgrounds, yet each person spent the same initial months building a skill before the first dollar arrived. They all hit the same wall in month 3, and they all scaled by doubling down on what finally worked. The engine behind that consistency is the daily schedule. It starts with a non-negotiable 2-hour deep work block at 5 a.m. Your phone is on airplane mode. No notifications, no distractions. This uninterrupted morning window is strictly for learning your skill, and later, building your product. From 8 to 5, you work your day job. You do it well, treating it as the primary investor funding your transition. Then you lock in a secondary block from 6 to 8 p.m. for client outreach, communication, and iteration. 4 hours of focused building a day becomes 28 hours a week. In 12 months, that compounds into 1,344 hours of deliberate skill acquisition, pitching, and asset creation. Failing to build a side income is rarely a strategy problem. It is a failure of daily time architecture. Controlling your calendar is just the first filter. The real threat is the psychological friction that happens quietly in the background, specifically designed to make you quit. This graph shows the typical trajectory of a new creator or freelancer. Notice the massive gap around month 3. Your effort is at an absolute peak, but your visible results are near 0. 80% of people abandon their projects right here. They assume the lack of income means the system is broken, missing the spike that almost always follows in month 4. During that dip, the voice telling you that you are a fraud will be deafening. You do not wait for that feeling to pass. You only need to be 1 chapter ahead of the person you are teaching, or 1 problem solved ahead of the client you are helping. You act alongside the fear. That fear often disguises itself as perfectionism. You delay launching a video or a service because it needs 1 more edit. You ship it at 80% instead. Done and imperfect gathers real market feedback. Perfect and unpublished earns exactly 0. Pushing through the month 3 dip, ignoring the imposter syndrome, and shipping messy work are the unglamorous prerequisites to unlocking the scaling phase. Once you hit the $5,000 plateau, the mechanics shift. Doing generic work like social media management caps your value. You break the ceiling by niching down. When you shift to Instagram content for chiropractors targeting local patients, you become a specialized solution. You charge 3 times as much, and clients seek you out directly. To hit $10,000 a month, you have to do the math on your pricing. You can try to convince 370 separate people to buy a $27 template, or you can focus entirely on securing 4 high-ticket clients at $3,000 each. As you gather those clients, you capture their emails. Followers on social platforms can disappear overnight with a single algorithm update. An email list is a privately owned asset. It allows you to pitch products directly to an audience that has already given you their trust. Hitting $10,000 a month is excellent, but it is still active income. It requires you to work. The next phase converts that cash flow into passive assets. You divert your surplus directly into low-cost index funds and real estate trusts. This chart shows what happens when you aggressively invest $5,000 of your new side income every month. Assuming a historical return rate, those investments stack and compound until they cross the $1.5 million mark in about 15 years. At that threshold, a 4% annual withdrawal safely covers $60,000 of living expenses. Building this business creates the surplus required to buy back your permanent freedom. When you zoom out, the math stops being about you. In many families, money has been a source of stress and scarcity for generations. Building wealth systematically snaps the link in that chain. $10,000 a month buys tangible options. It is the ability to retire a partner from a job that is destroying their health. It is the bandwidth to care for aging parents without agonizing over hospital bills. Your children learn to manage assets instead of inheriting debts. This 18 months timeline is the method to permanently alter the trajectory of your family tree. The roadmap is entirely laid out. You research your skill in week 1. You build an imperfect portfolio by month 2. You pitch relentlessly through the silence of month 3. You scale your rates to 5,000 by month 12, and you automate the systems to cross 10,000 by month 18. The strategy is completely solved. The remaining friction lives in the internalized belief that your background, your age, or your current bank account somehow disqualifies you from this process. Every tool you need is accessible. The educational resources are entirely free. The market demand for specialized skills is enormous. The barriers to entry are lower right now than at any point in history. The only variable left is how you spend the next 2 hours. 18 months from right now, you will either be exactly where you are, or you will look back at today as the moment you decided to work the system. Start.